have a lot of little things to share. I have these that were wound on a plastic core. There were fixtures a while ago. I currently have ferrites through the center, and then larger ferrites stacked around that. This one's got a ferrite there, and a ferrite next to it. So, something. Okay, so what I moved was the signal generator connection. That's this. This goes to one coil, that goes to this other coil. They're wound with the same length of wire. It's about 3 yards maybe. They're really tiny. My resonant frequency is 1.3 megahertz with the ferrites, and they're balanced there. So they're both exactly the same frequency. And this is the output of one, and the blue is the output of the other. I have history enabled so you can see how much it changes, if at all. So if I remove the second coil and put the second coil back, so remove and do the other coil. So this is actually a negative potential. So this is center is ground, and I'm going positive and negative voltage. It's the same amount. It's about 8 or 9 LEDs. And that's 107 volts or something for 3 volt input. So this is just chaining more of these together to get more output, and that's entirely possible. I can take the outputs of those and serialize them too, so that I get a higher potential this way, so I can go above the potential and light them that way instead. Okay, so what I did notice was these are tunable. If I have a long ferrite that goes through the center of this, I'm currently using that, then if I move this up and down on the ferrite, I can get a range of frequencies. Going through the center of it. It does react to ferrites next to it, but not as much as through it, especially entirely through it. Oh, and again, this is sine wave driven, and I can just increase the intensity by making it a square wave, which changes my signal to look like that, and then I don't have quite as square a top. Sine wave, square wave, sine wave, square wave, sine wave. And I tested this other coil. This is my longest, highest inductance one that had a frequency of 85 kilohertz, and had a 10-to-1 output. These don't generate as much output potential, and if I debalance that, then then the frequency is different and it doesn't resonate at the right frequency. These smaller ones are much less wire. They're higher frequency. The diameter, like this one, is a much higher frequency too. This is like almost 1 megahertz, probably 800 kilohertz. I haven't played with this one yet, actually, because these two are balanced, and I wanted to see if 2 is as good as 1. And I mean, I am stealing some of the power. It's going either out of balance because my input isn't the same paths of feedback for the resonance, or I don't know. So they'd have to be tuned together, and they can be tuned independently with ferrite cores to overcome differences of windings. I can take those out. The ferrites on these definitely improve the voltage. I can take these out and increase my frequency. Yeah, so I get basically no effect, not very much effect from these, but these are Teflon shielded, so the capacitive effect between the windings isn't going to be as strong as magnet wire. But the ferrite wouldn't affect that, the capacitive component. It would just be the inductive component of that wave. So, hold on. So also the direction matters. If your signal generator is attached on this side, your ground has to be attached on this side of the primary. Otherwise you get basically no signal. So if your ground and signal are on the same side, that does not work repeatedly. And I actually stumbled across that while I was testing a Pancake coil for a similar effect. These are very low inductance, probably 30 microhenries and maybe 100 altogether. I have this Pancake coil that is a similar inductance. And I have this solenoid coil that looks like it's on a core, but that's a non-magnetic core. Yeah, that's on a brass rod. That's a non-ferrous core. I need to try and find a core to put into that. That's a much higher wind coil, and it's going to have higher inductance than any of these. But the solenoid coil did not generate nearly the output that this coil did, nor did the Pancake. Although they behaved similarly, and while it's true I couldn't get ferrite in here, and none of these are bifilar, really they behave like normal coils, sort of. So this is that Pancake coil, and that's at 574 kilohertz. So it's much higher inductance than those others, but it's just lower frequency. But I only get 4 LEDs out of this. And that reduced the frequency to 474. Yeah, it looks like it increases the output. Not really. I get 5 LEDs, sort of. That's within 10 kilohertz, ends at 494 with the this ferrite display over the center. So that way, or that way, it's about the same. the best for this frequency. So I've cleaned up a bit, and now I'm down to this solenoid coil. Ferrite anywhere around it or near it doesn't. That's where I changed it. Balance that. Yeah, and that reduces the frequency. So I put that. Well, I mean that's so I put that like that, and that's 87 kilohertz. It was 92 before that, but then I only get almost 3 LEDs out. Almost. I can get 2 out. That's a higher inductance coil. It has a solenoid, and it has a resonant point. I lost my display clear. Oh, I can kick this to a square wave, but that's not very bright either. That's makes 4 dim bulbs. So this is actually a trifilar coil. I have 2 of the windings shorted, and that was actually, I was going through 2 and then receiving on 1, but I ended up sending on 1 and receiving on 1 for that video. This is one that's wound with approximately the same winding length as the others, but this one is actually wound on a ferrite core, but it's still at 1.3 megahertz to get 3 LEDs. And I added a ferrite into the center too, and that reduced the frequency. So I'm at 1.47, 1.49. And this one's really kind of badly wound. I mean, if that was a capacitive effect, this should totally ruin it. It's definitely got to be a factor of capacitance. I'm not sure the alternating windings matter. The effect is still, I don't know. So I'm on low end power, and the camera made me cut that clip. So this coil, it's got lots of extra windings that I haven't patched in yet. There's 9 LEDs at 830 kilohertz. I can drop a farad in the center of that. Get more. I can run that with a square wave. And trigger level is somewhere. Now, channel 2. And that's 10 volt divisions. And to 25 volts or something. And this one I can add ferrite over, and it additionally reduces the frequency to 616. Let's try that with sine wave. 596. And this is also wound on a plastic core. This one is actually wound essentially on itself. if there was a core, it was 3 turns of this, weed cutter line. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else other to play with or note. So, yeah.